Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast, what effect does turmoil in the Ukraine have in Indiana? The state launches a new tourism campaign. We spotlight edible Father's Day gifts. IU targets the nursing shortage. We take you inside the Ivy Tech Academy. Indiana continues to prepare for the NBA All-Star Game. How can the Indy Airport become more competitive? And our insiders take on the week's top stories. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. I'm Andy Ober. Combat halfway around the globe can have ripple effects here in Indiana. Kip Tom, former U.S. ambassador to the U.S. agencies for food and agriculture, says the war in the Ukraine could have a big impact on Indiana farmers, jobs, and investments. He talked about it with Inside Indiana Business host Gary Dick.
When I look at what's going on in the war in Ukraine right now, we know it's disastrous for the people there. Nearly 6 million have migrated out of the country into Eastern Europe. We have another 7 million that are internally displaced within Ukraine, and we have another 47 million that are on the edge of hunger across Africa because we are unable to get the wheat supplies to them. And that's where the private sector has been working hard to try to open up some channels to get grain into meeting some of those hungry people across Africa. It's to the point where the World Food Program is deciding who gets to eat and who doesn't right now.
Wow. As you look at it, Kip, and I know you're very involved and engaged in this on a daily basis, but as you look at the short-term and long-term implications for the food supply chain and the economy in particular here in Indiana, as you look at it and where it's headed, how significant, how substantial could this be?
Well, I think as we look around the corner, we know that agriculture is very dependent upon fertilizer. It is a major building block to produce foods. And I think you can look back at the world charts and see that when nitrogen production began, that's when the human population started to expand. And there's no question we need to bring some of these supply chains back to the United States, and I'd certainly like to bring some back to Indiana.
Okay, that's the point I wanted to make, because you firmly believe that Indiana can play a role in connection with the private sector, perhaps, but can play a role in these solutions. How so? Give us some examples. Yeah,
I'll give you an example. An example would be that if we look at, for instance, nitrogen production, nearly a third of the world's nitrogen that is exported comes out of Russia. Belarus is a producer of potassium. Those products we could get out of Canada. We can get nitrogen production start here in the United States, and hopefully here in Indiana, whether on the north coast on the Michigan coast or down on the Ohio River. But the reality is we have the potential to do it right here.
Well, as you look at what's it going to take to make that happen, is it engaging state government, the private sector, all of the above? What's going to take?
I think we need to engage everybody. We need to leverage people from Corteva. We need to talk to, like the Mitch Frasers over at Agronovus and other companies around Indiana, and try to go out and do a travel around the world and talk to companies that would want to call Indiana home. I really believe this is an opportunity now for us to move forward, to bring these supply chains back and to create more jobs and grow the economy of Indiana.
As you look, and again, you're engaged on a daily basis. I know we're fortunate. I think you're back from Kansas City today and headed maybe back out to New York. So you've been traveling a lot and dealing with this issue. But as you look at kind of the long-term implications and where you see things going, so many uncertainties right now, where do you see things going with the conflict and the impact?
Well, let's face it, Russia is never going to be a friend of the United States. China is not going to be a friend of the United States. We need to realize this is a long-term play, and that's why I'm saying we need to bring these supply chains back to the United States. There's so many of them, whether it's chemicals coming out of China. We need to work with our regulatory people in Washington, D.C. and make sure we have reasonable regulations that will allow these facilities to come to the United States. So oftentimes we think we're the most durable and reliable ag production food system in the world. But are we really? If we don't control the supply chains, we've globalized so much of it over the past 50 years. It's time to look at this and say, do we bring this home to the U.S. or to our friends and allies, people we can count on? That's the point we're at. We need to move now.
Certainly a lot of uncertainty out there in the economy in general, but as you look at the ag economy, kind of the state of the ag economy in particular here in Indiana, Kip, what's your take on the state of agriculture?
Well, I'd say the ag economy in Indiana is pretty durable. It's pretty strong right now. I think we're going to see good revenues, good returns this year. But what happens if commodity prices turn around and these input prices stay high? We could certainly turn this around really quick, whether it's the cost of machinery, land, or inputs. They're all high. We're growing the most valuable and the most expensive crop. So it's a lot of risk. And a lot of it from now on out throughout the rest of this year is up to Mother Nature.
Yeah, very good. Ambassador Kip, really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. Thank you for your leadership, too, in the ag community, not only here in Indiana, but certainly around the globe. And please keep in touch. I'd like to come back and talk to you again and see how things are going.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate the time.
All right.
Indiana continues its drive for tourism dollars with the In Indiana campaign. The state is looking to cash in on the greatest spectacle in racing and everything else uniquely Hoosier. Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch came on the show with details.
A big announcement, certainly at a big place, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Talk about this new campaign. First of all, the need to do it, because this started well over a year ago, and the planning stage had been through a lot of curves and turns and things. Talk about the need for this campaign.
Well, Indiana has an incredible quality of life. But as Hoosiers, I always say we're humble, and we don't do a very good job of telling our story. So we felt post-COVID it was important to talk about the quality of life we had in Indiana and the incredible assets we have and everything that you can enjoy in Indiana. And that was the impetus for the actual campaign.
And you're going to really leverage big events. We see the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, that iconic shot right there, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, so many others, academic institutions and others are going to engage with this campaign. That's a key part of it, right? To have these institutions, organizations, even individuals, communities engage with the In Indiana campaign.
Yeah, the beauty of In Indiana is it is so simple, but it is so powerful. And it's a unifier. It's inclusive. Anyone can use In Indiana. We can say the news is better in Indiana.
Absolutely. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can do it for anything. A restaurant can say, our burgers are better in Indiana. It is all inclusive, and it's something that is free. It doesn't cost people anything to be able to participate in the campaign.
So it's almost like a viral approach to it, to get people to use it, and that kind of builds a snowball, kind of grassroots snowball effect around the state.
Absolutely. And all the good things that are happening in Indiana, whether they're in our towns and communities or whether they're at our universities, now everybody will know that is taking place in Indiana. So it is going to instill pride, and it's going to create that identity of what Indiana is really all about.
Yeah. Marketing campaigns for tourism are nice, but there's really a lot at stake, in my opinion, here, because tourism is such a big business in the state of Indiana. Billions of dollars at stake here. So this campaign is aimed at getting a bigger piece of that pie.
Absolutely. Tourism contributes right under $10 billion to our state's economy and supports 208,000 Hoosier jobs. And so what we saw as a result of COVID is that tourism and the leisure-related industries really were on the decline. So this is a perfect time to be able to come out with this new identifier and create and instill that pride and grow that tourism economy for Indiana.
Yeah. As you look at funding, and I think $3+ million from the American Rescue Plan going into this, but traditionally, Indiana has been outspent by its neighbors in tourism, has been underfunded, some would argue. Do you think that's going to change? Do you think legislators and others are seeing the value of investing in tourism?
Well, the beauty about this campaign is we'll have metrics in place so that we can measure the return on investment. And I am optimistic that when we're able to show legislators the return on investment from this particular campaign in Indiana, we'll be able to make the case for more money in next year's budget session.
Yeah. As you look at rural areas of the state, assuming the festivals and so many things that take place around the state of Indiana, those areas especially hit hard by the pandemic and have had some challenging economic times. Do you see this campaign as really potentially benefiting the rural areas and the smaller areas around the state?
Oh, absolutely, because by using In Indiana, they start to create that identity. So the Strassenfest, as the governor pointed out, in Jasper, the Strassenfest is great in Indiana.
Yeah.
The Blueberry Festival is great in Indiana. I mean, you name the festival, you name the fair.
How about the Little Italy Festival in Clinton, Indiana, my hometown?
is great in Indiana.
I'll have to tell them about that.
In Indiana.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, Governor, your expectations. I mean, I know you and others are very high on this campaign. What's going to mark a successful campaign as you look on down the road?
Well, I think as we look down the road, it'll be measured by the increase in visitors to Indiana, the effect on our economy as a result of that, and longer term is the amount of students that we can keep in Indiana, and then the talent that we can attract to Indiana by telling our authentic story.
Yep, all gets back to talent in so many ways. Indiana Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch in Indiana, the new campaign. Thank you as always for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
There are plenty of edible ways to celebrate Father's Day in Indiana. Yelp Director of Community Campaigns Brittany Smith joined us with a rundown of Hoosier entrepreneurs serving up some of the best meat, chicken, and seafood in the state in our Trendiana segment.
Father's Day coming up, and everyone's always looking for a unique gift. Yes. And these artisan meats have really kind of come into their own, right?
Yeah, definitely. More and more of these butcher shops are creating their own unique sausages, hamburgers. It gives you a chance to try something new and support a local business.
All right, let's talk about some of these local businesses. One is the Savory Swine, very successful place down in Columbus.
Yeah, they've been around for years, a staple right there in the heart of the city. And it's not just a great shop for the butcher or the meats that are fresh in their case, but you're also going to find a boutique wine selection. They're known for their charcuterie boards that you can take to go, pick up everything that you might need for a picnic, but folks also love their lunch menu with all their meats on hand.
Wow, okay. Here in Indianapolis, Old Major. I know you've got some product here on the desk, but Old Major.
Beautiful sausages. I've had a lot of fun actually visiting them at a lot of local farmers markets, Garfield Park, for example. You can also order them online through Market Wagon and their website, but they make really creative sausages. So you're going to find things like Chinese 5-spice duck sausage, where they're using truffles and really fun ingredients in each of their sausages.
Always like each month, Brittany, you give us a statewide flavor, literally, of organizations, companies. Acorn Acres is in Northwest Indiana in Chesterton.
Yeah, since 1969, they've been raising their own meats that you're going to buy at their shop in town. So it's both a farm and the shop. You can actually order them online. And if you're wanting to try something new with your grilling, they've got a new offering. It's called Ethiopian Berber sausage. It's got a little kick to it. I'd like to try that out myself, but it's a really fun family-owned business.
And you mentioned this, 1969. They in terms of the sustainable practice game, they're kind of ahead of the game.
Yeah, using no hormones, no antibiotics. They were definitely ahead of the game.
Okay, the Smoking Goose. That is a name that a lot of people know. They really paved the way for a lot of these other businesses.
For sure. They're celebrating 15 years this year. Wow. You're going to find their products, when you're in Chicago, you might even see it on the menu there. I've stumbled upon it in Italy and throughout the cities. But they are celebrating 15 years this year. And in the Holy Cross neighborhood, you can visit their meat locker. Fun Father's Day gift. They've got a carnivore meat basket filled with salamis, which they're best known for, as well as some other meats in that basket, but also a bacon making class. It's really fun if you want to do something hands-on with that.
So you mentioned Holy Cross, and they still have, of course, the location there.
Fall Creek. Yeah. Can't beat both those spots.
Yeah, good. Okay, final stop, Lebanon, and that's St. Adrian.
Yeah, right? St. Adrian, right there off the square in Lebanon. They are making all of their meats in-house right there at that location. They're known for their sausages as well as the burger mixes. They get really creative with it using blue cheeses, or they've got like a poblano and cheeseburger, so you can try something new. Yeah. They also have over 50 different types of sausages on rotation. Folks really love in the Yelp reviews the filet kebabs. They're made to order, top of the line meat. I'm eyeing them right here.
Yeah, and I can tell you, I'm smelling it too. The smell is really great. Brittany, you don't need to go through every one, but do they all offer online ordering? Do you have to go
about
in?
Half of them, half of them offer, and it's like if you can't get it delivered through them, actually like Smoking Goose, for example, Old Major, you can get it shipped to you. You can order ahead, swing by for quick pickup. Businesses are getting more creative with their e-commerce, for sure.
And you mentioned businesses, and each and every month, I think you need to underscore these are businesses. These are entrepreneurs who are out there putting it on the line each and every day. Right?
Yes, definitely. And getting folks to think, not just going to your local grocery store. Some of these you can actually find at the grocery stores, but thinking about how can I buy my meat locally? How can I buy my cheese locally? And think about that. Artisan meats. Hope my kids are taking notes. We've got some great opportunities. Brittany Smith, as always, great to have you. Thanks so much, Gary. All right.
One of the biggest challenges in healthcare today is the nursing shortage. The IU School of Nursing is looking to be part of the solution. Dean Robin Newhouse spoke with Kylie Valletta in the Business of Health.
All right, let's talk about the shortage. We established that exists, but why is it such a serious problem that we should all care about?
Well, it's a serious problem because it's not only an economic problem, it's a clinical problem and it's a health problem. The urgent need for nurses makes us concerned that people won't get the care that they need. Nursing in particular, one of the largest clinical professions, has a profound role to improve the health of the population. Nurses themselves are trained in a lot of different ways. They work in multiple settings. The outcomes associated with nursing are important and promote health. So let me just start by saying what nurses do. Nurses prevent injury, they promote health, they diagnose and treat the human response to different phenomena, pain. The outcomes that are associated with nurses are related to clinical outcomes like I mentioned, pain management, also decrease infections, nosocomial or hospital-acquired infections, falls, as well as patient experience. Nursing has a role in patient experience that increases satisfaction by patients as well. In addition, length of stay is lower, as well as the return to the hospital or readmission to the hospital. So nursing is important for a number of ways. In fact, one of the issues, nursing is so important, the Bureau of Health Professions are predicting that nursing is going to be one of the most important jobs for growth, and because of the need for nurses.
So I know that we don't like to focus on the numbers a lot in these stories because you say, nurses aren't numbers, they're not widgets, and I know you're very passionate about that. So I think we do want to talk about, though, IU being unique in the sense that it provides a full spectrum of nurses and the way that it trains nurses, everything from beginner nurses on. Can you explain that just a little bit?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. The nurses, when we talk about entry-level nurses, so all the discussion about we need more nurses, people are talking about entry-level nurses. They're generally at the associate degree level or the baccalaureate level. So Indiana University offers a baccalaureate level. A associate degree nurse and a baccalaureate nurse will sit for their licensing exam at the end of their program. Indiana University also includes a set of graduate programs and tracks as well. At the graduate level, a master's in nursing, we have 5 nurse practitioner tracks. Nurse practitioners are those clinicians that work in primary care or acute care that diagnose and treat people. This is an opportunity for us across the state to employ nurse practitioners. We have counties that don't have enough healthcare clinicians and providers, and nurse practitioners are a solution to that. In addition, we train clinical nurse specialists who are also known for the ability to manage populations of people and improve outcomes, reducing the cost of care as well. Okay. Nurse practitioner, the quality, safety, and effectiveness of nurse practitioners are undeniable.
And I know there's a need for all of those nurses right now with this shortage. I'm so sorry, but we're already out of time. I know there's also some expansion happening on IUPUI campus because of this money from IU Health. So good luck with that and keep us posted on those numbers.
Thank you.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Ivy Tech Community College's campus in Warsaw is partnering with Whitko Community Schools to launch the Ivy Tech Academy. It will offer high school students a dedicated space to attend virtual college classes during the school day. Ivy Tech Warsaw Vice Chancellor Alan Decker joined us in our Eye on Education segment.
Let's talk about the Ivy Tech Academy, because this offers high school students, in this case in Whitko, junior, senior high school, the opportunity to earn an entire year of college credits by the time they graduate from high school. That's not necessarily new. The new aspect here is they can do it virtually. Tell us about the Academy.
Right. Well, Whitko has a new superintendent, Tim Pravarnik, and he's very visionary, and he really wanted to be able to put Whitko on the map in terms of being able to attract new students into the school system. Being rural and kind of far away from some of the other universities, he wanted to pursue this opportunity. And so we talked and envisioned together. We did a site visit. We asked how we could help. And very quickly, this came together. And so they'll be converting a former library space this summer And we've donated some funds to be able to purchase monitors and audio sets, and so that students can come and go throughout the school day, take an Ivy Tech course or two to be able to finish, hopefully, a credential, maybe even hopefully the Indiana College Core, which is that 30 credit hour core of first year college courses, and then to be able to transfer to their university of choice as a sophomore.
What does it, as you look at it, because a lot of these classes are liberal arts and related classes here, but the opportunity to come out of high school with a full year of college under your belt, there's a cost savings, time savings. There are a lot of benefits to having that be the case.
Right. Not only time and money savings, but just readiness, that much more prepared for the rigor of college life. You know, a dual credit course or a dual enrollment course is college material. It's what we teach all of our other students. There is no diluted content. And so when a high school student can get a jump on that kind of academic rigor and understand the ropes and what's required to really complete on time and to do college level work, they're just that much more bound to be successful when they go off to college.
Yeah, I know the Ivy Tech Academy there in Warsaw really geared toward the rural areas there. Give us maybe a typical day of a student utilizing and taking advantage of the Ivy Tech Academy, how that would work, the balance between the high school work and the college work.
Sure. Well, you know, as a freshman or sophomore, their days are pretty full. They've got a pretty full slate of courses. But by the time they're getting to their junior year and especially to their senior year, there are a lot of other gaps of time because maybe they've worked ahead and they've completed that high school curriculum. And so they've got room in their day to be able to do other supplemental things. Many students choose to go off campus and do internships or other kind of supervised activities. But we think those open blocks of time would be perfect opportunity for them to take a virtual or online course at Ivy Tech, especially online, because that can be done at any time. That can be fit into their schedule. Virtual is kind of like this, where via Zoom, they are in a synchronous kind of situation, but online is really super flexible.
Yeah, and also no doubt helping the talent pipeline, which is so important indeed. The Ivy Tech Academy, a new partnership with Whitko Junior Senior High School in Northern Indiana. Alan Decker, Vice Chancellor at Ivy Tech Warsaw. Alan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
The report is in from Cleveland on the 2022 NBA All-Star Game, and it bodes well for Indianapolis, which hosts the event in 2024. Pacer Sports and Entertainment President Mel Raines updated the city's preparations with Bill Benner on Inside Indiana Sports.
These are big numbers coming out of the Cleveland game last February. $141 million in overall economic direct spending, $250 million in overall economic impact, and we can only hope that Indianapolis will do is much better than that.
Yeah, we certainly do. I mean, those were astounding numbers coming out of Cleveland, especially considering we were really coming out of COVID at that point. So it wasn't a truly normal All-Star weekend, and they did have to amend some of what they were planning to do. And so we're more excited than ever to host in 2024 when we saw those numbers and we saw the impact, especially the global impact of what the All-Star game reaches 215 countries. They had 223 million Instagram views that weekend. And that's just a level of global impact we don't usually see from some of the events we host here.
Yeah, the international, that's something that I didn't even consider, but they had 121,000 actual visitors from 45 states and 20 countries. So that's truly remarkable.
It is. I mean, basketball is a global sport and it is played all over the world. The Basketball Africa League started in 2021. And it's just, we just have fans, you know, we have a lot of fans, as you know, even in the Philippines. I think we have 1 million people who follow us on social media in the Philippines. So we played in India a couple of years ago, and so that impact for the kinds of sports we usually do here have such a huge impact in our country, but this is kind of next level for us.
And one of the benefits, if there are benefits, and there are benefits of the game being postponed that we were supposed to have a year ago, the phase 3 of Gainbridge Fieldhouse, I almost did it. Gainbridge Fieldhouse, all those renovations, and the plaza, all that will be complete for our visitors.
Yeah, it was one of the many silver linings, I think, from COVID is that we'll be completely done with the project. So we'll be done this fall with everything inside. And then in the spring, Bicentennial Unity Plaza will open, which we're really excited about. And when we had originally bid on All-Star back in 2017, those weren't even contemplated. So we had not completed the deal with the city to stay for another 25 years, and the scope of the project wasn't fully known. And so now to have that in our plans and have the building completely done will just make the weekend, I think, go much better and be smoother for everybody.
And Mel, as we wrap up, another bonus, 21 legacy projects now increased to 24. So statewide impact for thousands of youth across the state of Indiana.
Yeah, when we knew we had to push the game, we talked to the NBA about making 24 legacy projects instead of 21, which they immediately embraced and wanted to do. And we'll also name another class of 24 rising stars, high school seniors in the class of 24 that will be engaged in All-Star Weekend. And we hope to engage the original class of 21 as well. So hopefully we'll have 45 young people helping us make this a weekend for everybody to remember.
Well, Mel Raines, thank you. Again, leading the 2024 All-Star efforts. She was intricately involved in taking our Super Bowl to a new level. I know you'll do the same for the All-Star game. Thanks, Mel. Appreciate you being on the show.
Thanks, Bill.
Could Indiana's high-flying tech scene be in for a slowdown? And what is Indianapolis International Airport doing to become more competitive? Our partners at the IBJ are working on those stories and more. News editor Mason King came on the show with details.
The tech community, venture capital, has been a pretty good story the last couple of years. A lot of money flowing into the state, but I know there's a story coming up this weekend that may be about to change.
Yeah, 2021, as you know, was a banner year for venture capital. The money that gets invested in early stage companies, help them grow or just even get off the ground. But the venture capital companies are letting companies know now that that spigot is going to tighten. And that's for a number of reasons. The volatile stock market, the war in Ukraine, there's a massive slowdown in the IPO market. So it's possible that we're going to start seeing some layoffs here in Indianapolis. It's something that we've seen already nationally. Mm-hmm. And time will tell. So far, the companies that we've spoken with seem to think that they're going to get through this okay.
Yeah. Interesting story, too, from Cicero you have this weekend. Talking about horses really coming to the aid of both children and adults with special needs.
Yeah, our Daniel Bradley has a great story about Agape Therapeutic Riding Resources, which is a not-for-profit organization. It has two complexes, one in Cicero, one in Greenfield, and they provide access to animals, especially riding animals, for people who have therapeutic needs, mental health challenges, even the elderly. And they're able to do this sometimes at no cost or a reduced cost.
Interesting. Okay, one more. Indianapolis International Airport, routinely viewed as the best airport in North America, but the competition for flights, for routes is very strong. And I know a story this week to talk about incentives and how Indianapolis joining some other regional airports in offering incentives.
Well, yeah, the Indianapolis Airport Authority is updating its incentive packages so that it will have $5 million to play with over the next 2 years that can offer carriers as a way to beckon them or to attract them to Indianapolis to create new nonstop routes. Really, the big fish here are the international routes. Mm-hmm. The Airport Authority would love to have that Paris route back. They're also looking at London.
Very good. Just a few of the stories in this weekend's IBJ. I know will be chock full of some great stories. Mason King, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
And finally this week, our insiders take on the top business stories in the state. This week's panel includes KSM Consulting Business Development Executive Bruce Kidd, Beck Communications Group President Lara Beck, and IndyPolitics.org publisher Abdul Hakim Shabazz.
Breaking news, if you will, late in the week, Governor Holcomb, a lot of people saying, hey, you got to spend some of that surplus, announced plans to take $1 billion out of the surplus and essentially refund to taxpayers, giving them about $225. Good idea. It's going to make a difference.
I think at the end of the day, it'll make a difference in the short run because it'll put more money in Hoosiers' pockets they can go put back in their gas tanks. Also, I think what the governor did was very responsible. They waited until they had the revenue forecast to come out to say how much money we're going to have, how much money can we do this responsibly, give money back and still meet all our commitments, just like roads and bridges and infrastructure. And so, as my good friend Laura would say, cutting the gas tax is good politics, but is bad public policy.
Oh, he just likes to put words in my mouth. Abdul does. I mean, I think it's definitely time to do this. People have been calling for it. We are hearing about folks who are really struggling with the gas tax, and the gas issues are a global issue as well. But I just think back to when Governor O'Bannon did this, and so Governor Holcomb can't steal, thanks a billion. Governor. That's what he had. He had a little bumper sticker. So yeah, it makes sense. It really does at this point in time.
It seems to me it's an indication of our fiscal position versus most states that we can even do this.
Got the money to do it. Yeah, $225. How many fill-ups will that get us?
Get me 4 or 5.
4 or 5?
But I don't drive much anymore. I work at home.
Okay, good. Big news this week, too. The tourism industry in Indiana. It's a $10 billion industry. After a year plus of work and planning a new marketing campaign, a slogan, if you will. In Indiana is the new slogan. Interesting concept. They're going to really connect with a lot of institutions, be it businesses, academic institutions, communities, festivals around the state. Laura, as you look at first of all, the spots that they unveiled, and also the name, the In Indiana, do you like it?
I do. I mean, I think anyone can poke fun at any slogan. I mean, remember Wander, Indiana, right? So, I mean, that can happen. But I think from a large strategic standpoint, what they're doing is they're giving a really helpful resource to communities, municipalities, and others who may not have the financial resources to implement those campaigns on their own. So they're really, I think, giving a boost to them, and doing it in a cohesive way is really important. Mm-hmm. What I also like is that the company that did this is based here in Indiana. So often business and community leaders think they need to go outside of the state, and they don't. That talent is right here.
Yeah, and Laura brings up a good point, is that this is free for these communities and stuff to tag on and to put this as part of their marketing campaigns. But bigger picture, Indiana has woefully underfunded tourism marketing for years. Do you think that's going to change? Are they going to get more money from the legislature to help fund these kinds of initiatives?
I think they will. And also, the one thing I like about this program in particular is, unlike the Restart Your Engines, which was a few years ago, this you can basically use anywhere for anything.
Yeah.
It's universal. So whether it's like in Indiana, in Fort Wayne, Evansville, Richmond, it fits.
Yeah, definitely more so even than a state that works. That's not something that folks could have used in an outside of, really outside of economic development.
The more people we bring into the state, the better.
Yeah.
And this is a vehicle for those smaller communities. Everybody knows the Indy 500, but not everybody knows Brown County or Bremen or wherever else that that hasn't had the opportunity to get the word out. This helps them do that.
Yeah. Speaking of smaller communities, rural communities around the state of Indiana, news this week that Grace College in northern Indiana beginning planning for a new agriculture center. In Bruce, I thought it's interesting because a number of schools are really beginning to implement ag programs. Huntington College in northeast Indiana, among them, have had real success in generating ag graduates. A part of feeding that pipeline.
Yeah. Well, Laura and I were talking earlier. Huge component of our economy, the ag business economy. But those are family businesses. They're businesses, and you have to train the next generation to lead those businesses rather than just work on them or in them. It's a great initiative to train the next leaders of all these family farms that we want to keep around. It's billions of dollars of impact.
Yeah, and interesting too, if you talk to Agrinovus, they will tell you the number of jobs in the ag space, the ag bioscience space, runs the gamut from marketing to you name it, all under the ag umbrella. So there are all kinds of careers that are out there.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I think, what is it? It contributes $32 billion to our state's economy. And at the same time, what I like about it is not all kids are big school kids, no offense to our large Indiana institutions. So this is a great way for them to really dig into those careers and get really some intense one-on-one attention.
Yep. Abdul, we talk a lot about the talent pipeline across all industries, manufacturing, you name it. Can this, Purdue obviously is world-class in the ag space and has been for many decades, will continue to be so. But can these smaller universities, colleges and universities make a difference in
I think so, because for one reason, you no longer have to go to Purdue to get your ag degree. If you're at Grace or at Huntington, you can actually sort of stay local, which I think is a major deal. And also, like you said, it's building that pipeline, and you got to go meet people where where they are. And I think this is one of those ways to do that.
Yeah. Also, some news. Been some big economic development announcements in recent weeks. Stellantis up in Kokomo, Lilly in Lebanon, Walmart announcing or confirming plans for a major distribution center out east, and 1,000 jobs in McCordsville. And Laura, we were talking before we went on. That's a community, a lot of growth out there. And the new economic development director comes from Fishers and Speedway.
I think it's really interesting to see how that area is popping. You know, Bruce and I were talking about, he's got a lot of folks he knows even who have moved out there. That area is just primed for growth. And it's true, Tanya Galbraith, who's been there as the town manager, is retired. They've got a really active, engaged council. Their new town manager is Tim Gropp, coming from Speedway. I mean, they're really poised, I think, to move in a great direction.
I agree, and 1,000 jobs is fantastic. We got to be able to fill them, but the opportunity to do that's really good.
Bruce, final word to you on McCordsville in terms of from a planning standpoint. You have all that growth. You have residential growth. You have Walmart with 1,000 jobs. Other companies. Planning for that is a challenge.
It is a challenge, and you have to have a well thought out plan to support not only the Walmart with other suppliers and vendors, but then the residential and other beyond that. You can grow out of control, and that's why someone like Tim would be helpful to help them plan that out thoroughly.
Very good. Bruce Kidd, Laura Beck, Abdul Hakim Shabazz, thank you one and all.
Thank you. That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments, as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Andy Ober for Inside Indiana Business.